Hey, aloha, everybody, and welcome back to the ThinkTech Hawaii studio for another episode of Security Matters. I have four amazing guests with me today. Erin Mann is with us from Allegion. She'll be talking on behalf of the Security Industry Association's RISE organization. Lynne de Seve from GSA Schedules is with me. She will be talking from SIA's Board of Directors, as well as our Women's Security Forum committee. Malcolm Reid is with us from Brison LLC. He brings the perspective from the Board of Directors of ASIS. And Dave Corbin is with us from the Broad Institute at MIT and Harvard. And he will be bringing us ASIS Connects perspective and some of the other work from the ASIS Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Committee. Please go to their LinkedIn's. I'm not going to give them the time today to go sort of introduce and give their history like I normally do, since we've got a major discussion with us and not a lot of time. With that, we're going to get it started. And Erin, I'll let you start off with, let's talk about RISE. Let's talk about diversity and sort of what role do you believe RISE can play in helping the industry focus and become one of the more diverse industries so we can attract new talent?
I am really excited to be here representing RISE today and just to kind of talk about some of our initiatives. We are really excited just about the trajectory that our group has had in the last 5-6 years since it's been around. I've been involved for the past year and a half, and I've seen the group grow astronomically. So in the last year, we actually expanded our user base by 200%. So we have over 800 young professionals who are in the security industry globally who are part of our RISE community. And so knowing that we have such a broad reach, we are actively working on a lot of initiatives to help empower these individuals, build their networks full of cheerleaders and dynamic other leaders in the industry to really promote the security industry as a place where young talent can go to not only grow their careers, but be developed, foster their careers, upskill, and kind of grow on that really awesome trajectory that the security industry has. And so we've got some really awesome initiatives happening right now. We have a scholarship that we'll be announcing winners in the next couple weeks or so. In 2018 for that scholarship, we had 6 applicants. In 2019 for the scholarship, we had 19. This year we had 46 applicants from 6 countries. And so we're seeing a lot more representation from the global security industry, really kind of getting interested in how young professionals can play into what the industry is going to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now. And so we are actively kind of promoting different webinars and content. We have a diversity and inclusion subcommittee that's about to announce a really amazing opportunity for industry professionals at every level. And we're just looking at the ways that we can bring young talent into the industry, foster them, make them feel like they belong, they have the experience and the learning and the right to be at the table that they're at, and give them the tools to build their network and really kind of empower them to take on these issues as we continue, because diversity and inclusion is an ongoing initiative. It's not going to be solved in a year. And so the work that we're starting today is hopefully going to be some of the work that we're capitalizing on when we're leaders tomorrow.
That's awesome. Thanks for the leadership, and thanks for promoting this within RISE. I mean, we're going to need all of these voices from every angle coming at us. So it's awesome that RISE is so engaged. And I think Lynn, they've outgrown our WISF group if they've got 800 already. But what's the perspective of the SIA board? I know that they put together this joint effort along with ASIS. It's going to happen on Thursday, December 10th. But from an industry perspective, what do you think SIA's role can be, and what can our Women's Security Forum do to help promote diversity and inclusivity through the industry?
Well, obviously diversity, equity, and inclusivity is a big issue. And I'm really proud of the collaboration that SIA is doing with ASIS and all of our groups. Within the organizations, you see that, we've spread out. It's touching the various groups within our organizations that focus on this. I'm really proud of SIA, different from most industry. We have 40% females on our board of directors. And so that's like 6 of 15 voting members. And even our executive committee is 2/3 female. So, we're really reaching out there to make that effort. And again, with our committee groups, and this is something for other organizations to think of. Our committee chairs are many women committee chairs, in our organization. So, within the various committees, of course, RISE, Erin has just explained that to you, but, the Women in Security Forum has been very active. And one of the initiatives that we put out there, to include, our young people, we've created an Adopt a College program where members and other SIA staff will reach out to colleges and participate in virtual days where, for educational opportunities and job opportunities. And we've already begun engaging, even though we just launched it, with Penn State, UVA, local community colleges, historically Black colleges, including Bowie State, which is near Annapolis, where I am. And in addition to that, we launched a scholarship program this year, which you know about, Andrew. This was very successful. It was amazing the way industry contributed and supported this. We were able to provide scholarships to 12 individuals from various backgrounds in work. So that was absolutely amazing that we got that together this year. And then, of course, one of the more recent things that the Women in Security Forum announced was the formation of a SIA Speakers Bureau. And so, the Women in Security Forum have put this forward. We're looking for people to sign up to help cultivate women in industry and in the role of leadership, of course, and many other aspects of diversity and inclusivity that we are reaching out to do with our organizations.
It's awesome. Yeah, I was an early proponent of, I was talking to the event organizers about these mantles. Every conference I would go to, every speaker's a guy. I'm like, really? Can't we just make it mandatory? You have to have, equal numbers of men and women, or let's create, like, if people see it different, it'll become different, right? Anyway, Malcolm, from the board chair at ASIS, I mean, this is a major initiative. I know you're very active with the diversity and inclusivity initiative there. Let's talk about diversity from ASIS perspective. They've got such a global influence in the industry. What are they looking to accomplish, and how can we support it?
Well, first of all, Andrew, thank you very much for having me on your program. It's a pleasure to be here as well, to contribute with the other professionals as well. From the ASIS perspective, ASIS is a global organization. So we have just about 34,000 plus members across the globe. So and by that very definition, it's very diverse. You have people from different countries, male, female, different nationalities as well. And ASIS is looking to expand that diversity. There's an opportunity right now in this space to expand the whole thought process behind what is DE&I, what is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what it means to the industry. The security industry is something that is continually growing as the world gets involved with more risk. There's more risk involved in technology. There's more risk involved in natural and man-made disasters. The security professional's role is much more important as we move forward in today's world, and that's why we need different perspectives. So from our perspective at ASIS, we have a Women in Security Council. We have a Young Professionals Council. But we wanted to tap into that and grow further into embracing DE&I, which is even a bigger conversation than just those two groups only, but incorporating those two groups and reaching much more underrepresented communities. I always tell people, if you had someone on your board of directors who grew up in a single parent home, or who had less resources than the average person, and they were able to get to sit next to you in a boardroom, you want that person on your team, because that person can work with less resources and accomplish much more. So DE&I it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to many organizations, but for us at ASIS, it's an opportunity to reach more members, to incorporate their views, and to keep the world. We want to keep the world a safer place, essentially.
Yeah, and I do agree. More voices is how we do that, right? We don't want to exclude a voice that could have a solution that saves a life. I've been a proponent of that sort of idea. So Dave, you're heading the DE&I committee, I suppose, for ASIS, as well as I think running the Connects program or contributing to the content there. What, from your perspective, what's the role ASIS can play, and what sort of leadership are we looking to accomplish, with the DE&I program? How do we engage our industry partners to help us, the manufacturers and integrators?
Sure, and just to clarify, I'm not leading the DE&I group. That's being led at the very top levels of ASIS with the president of ASIS and the and also the CEO of ASIS. And one thing I will say is that ASIS has done a great job in backing up their initial statement that they made around diversity, equity, inclusion, and their commitment to that. And, shortly after that statement came out in support of the community, in support of diversity, equity, inclusion within the organization, they did form the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Task Force, which, as I mentioned, is headed by the top levels of ASIS and includes people from both ASIS headquarters and, the membership and the board. And Malcolm and I are both on that task force. So it's going to be a long-term strategy. And I know that there is a long-term commitment from ASIS to the diversity, equity, and inclusion work, but it's not something that's going to, get resolved in the next year. It's something that has to be an ongoing conversation and ongoing work. And I think that the program coming up on Thursday is really a big first step in that, in engaging the community, the security community, in this discussion around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and getting the different perspectives and hearing about people's challenges. And that takes me to the Connects platform, which is ASIS Connects, and that is, anybody who's a member has access to that community, and there is a new diversity, equity, inclusion community. You can go into the Connects link, which is right at the top of the membership screen, and you search out that community. And right now there's about 105 people signed up from 21 different nations. So it's not just, if you're in the US, you're not just talking to people from the US. If you're in, wherever you are, you're getting the perspective of people from 21 different nations, which is very unique. And Malcolm and I were talking yesterday about if you went on LinkedIn and you had that conversation, you might not have that level of diversity. And I would say that level of safety around knowing that your conversation is probably going to be more supportive and less likely to have, some issues with the people who you're interacting with. So it's a safe space to talk about this topic and to start getting, as I like to say, getting comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations. But if you go on there right now, people are posting different resources, asking questions. Everybody is struggling with the same issues, so it's a great place to get on there and speak with your fellow colleagues about this issue and to get ideas and to exchange ideas and start conversations.
That's awesome. And my understanding is that's open to everyone in our community. It's not limited to current ASIS membership.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So definitely check that out. Go to ASIS Connect's website and, join that community and get engaged with the conversation. So let's get into this. This one's a little interesting to me, this discussion of equity. Equity to me obviously means that the opportunities are there for the same sort of earnings, the opportunities are there for the same types of appointments within an organization. And there's obviously a massive lack of equity across not just the security industry, but globally in a lot of companies, right? They're working on this. Malcolm, I know you've talked a bit about some of these metrics and some experiences that you've actually had yourself. You want to kick us off with a little of a understanding of maybe the inequity that's out there that we're going to try to mount an effort against?
Thank you, Andrew. And there's so much data on this information. It's a tremendous amount of information to support what we're saying here. What we've seen from like the Department of Labor statistics from the government, we've seen that there's inequity in terms of gender and for race as well. So, for example, and that leads into the topics such as intersectionality, where someone can be both female and a person of color, and we've seen that that person would make much less, significantly less, and than someone from a majority. And that's where organizations such as McKinsey and Company, and they're looking at ways in which diversity can really help companies become more profitable. And that's the connection there. So it's not just looking at salary ranges, and that there is great inequity there, but how can we tap into that rich, diverse workforce that's out there? I'll say this because it's in the public domain. A CEO of a major company recently said, "Hey, I can't find talent from a particular group to get into the management."
Wow.
And there was a blowback on what he said.
Yeah.
It's a big company here in the US, huge company, and I can't find any. But that's incorrect. That is categorically incorrect. There's so many talented people, but somehow that there's inequity in that recruitment and selection system as well, because people are not being able to capture these opportunities. These opportunities are set because people seem to communicate. They feel comfortable with people who are like them, and that in turn, that implicit. We talk about implicit bias and all these other terms in DE&I. These things really affect person's earning potential, and there's a ceiling that sort of caps off individuals of underrepresented communities from becoming. And you can do the research yourself. How many CEOs are in the Fortune 500 are people of color? How many CEOs are women? Not many. And there's a reason for that. It's because we need to start shifting our mindset and start embracing our differences and realizing that as the theme for 2020 for ASIS, again, was we are stronger together. And I think that theme goes into our DE&I team as well. But there is salary, there's a huge difference, and it goes across race and gender. And when race and gender intersects, the effect on that is much greater on the individual. That person makes, for example, I believe a Black female makes 58 cents on the dollar for against a white male. So that's a significant. It affects their earning potential. It affects what they can do for their families as well.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to teach our companies. Lynn, you work with a lot of companies from our industry. What's your perspective on that? The folks that you tend to deal with at the tops of these organizations, are they open to promoting? Are they comfortable sitting and doing the things they've always done? And you're a woman-owned, a president of your own company, which is a rarity in our industry as well.
It is rare, and when I started, I was among very few women in a totally male-dominated industry. But I think awareness is crucial. As I worked with individuals and, speaking to what Malcolm was talking about, I was a single mother with 2 children, okay? And I was working for different companies that were struggling during a time, where there was some economic issues. I kept getting laid off. So I started my own company. And fortunately for me, I started it in the security industry where my male allies lifted me up and supported me, recognizing that I was a good multitasker and I could get it done. And so, in my role on the CIA Board of Directors and in working with the Women in Security Forum, I have found so many people who are really willing to embrace this and encourage it. And I'm amazed at the growth we've had in this area just in the last year. It's really, gosh, I wish it would have happened 30 years ago, but still, I'm really thrilled to be part of it and very encouraged by the young professionals in the ASIS group and as well as RISE and CIA, because we have to do it. I think we're really taking a leadership role here with the security industry, and it's got to go beyond this. We really need to, all these steps that we're taking are so important to get the word out, and have other people step up. And, many of our male allies have, like you, Andrew, and the other gentleman here, and so many more people, sometimes you just have to ask. Really.
There you go. That's what we're doing today. This is our ask out there, people, if you're watching. Right. We want your help. Hey, Erin, in the RISE community, what's the feeling, equity? Is there an equitable opportunity for young professionals to move in our industry? Do they feel, you know, motivated? Do they feel that they'll be rewarded? Is there work to do there?
I think so. Based on my experience, I think it's gotten better in the 4.5 years that I've been part of the industry. I think that young professionals are consistently proving themselves to be mature leaders who actually can be trusted with business responsibilities, and they're being hired and trusted and being able to autonomously do their job. What I don't see yet is a ton of young people in major leadership positions within their organizations. But I think that there's the trajectory in place for that to happen. And I think that's why groups like RISE or the ASIS Young Professionals Group are so important and impactful, because there's a lot of learning and growth to happen as you're going through your career. And we want to earn that seat at the table. We want to diminish the fears of a young person who might have the merit to move into that position, but doesn't necessarily have the tenure or the experience. And I think that's where talent development and professional development really comes into play, because we have this unique opportunity to connect people with industry professionals who have been in the industry for 30 plus years. And in some cases, that's longer than some of us have been alive, which is such a unique opportunity because, you know, why would you stay in an industry for that long if it didn't offer you incredible opportunities? It didn't give you a network. It didn't give you a job that was fulfilling and rewarding. And so to be able to help kind of foster that sense of community, give young professionals a place to kind of forge their own path, connect them with individuals who have done that, who have built the industry, who are the foundation of the industry, and then really empower ourselves to go and push the industry into the next few years is really crucial to diversity and inclusion. And especially, I think the stat is something like 55% of millennials are always looking for a new job. And if their companies or their organizations or their industry doesn't offer them professional development opportunities, it doesn't offer them growth and kind of networking opportunities, that's a pillar of what they look for in their ideal organization. So we're going to start having a talent problem if we don't tackle these issues, if we don't give everyone trust and autonomy, if we don't have diversity and inclusion strategies. We're going to start losing candidates who have skills that we need. And it's really, really fascinating because suddenly the security industry isn't sourcing talent just from security vocational kind of programs. We're sourcing talent from a plethora of different ponds where that talent can easily go to a different industry. We're talking cybersecurity and tech and innovation and design and storytelling and marketing. And these skills are so applicable elsewhere as well. So if we don't have kind of a really amazing trajectory for young talent, if we don't have the right programs in place, if we're not empowering people, if we're not telling them that the table that they're at is where they deserve to be, they have the right and the experience and the knowledge to be there, and giving them decision-making power and giving them the opportunity to mentor other individuals and giving them the opportunity to be mentored by individuals, the security industry is going to face some hard times. But that's why it's so fun to be part of a group like RISE and kind of participate in some of these broader industry initiatives, because we really are being given a voice. And kind of like what Lynn said, the security industry is a leader in that. And we're just really excited to have a seat at the table and play a role and really kind of help promote this as a pillar of the foundation of the industry.
It's awesome. Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, that we're going to have it coming from all angles. Dave, is there a perspective out of the task force to build a playbook or to get some instruction for companies that are maybe struggling with doing this type of work internally? Are there some models out there that people can sort of look at, or is there thought to building some models? I mean, ASIS has been a great trainer of industry for probably since its inception. You know, is there that kind of thinking there, or are there questions like that maybe come up in Connect, like from owners who like, I don't know how to build this program, I don't know what to do? How do we help those folks get engaged?
Yeah, well, there's certainly in Connects, I've seen a lot of conversations, people asking for help building the diversity, equity, inclusion programs, but also giving some examples of what they've done. So there's some resources in that regard. And in the conversations in the task force, it's certainly one of the products I think that the task force would like to deliver at some point. I don't know when or what that would look like, but I think ultimately the goal, one of the goals, is to provide resources to the membership in order to really tackle this issue. So I can't say that, hey, there'll be a guide coming out, in the next 6 months, but I think that certainly that'll be one of the things that comes out at some point down the line in some form. But the task force is in its infancy still, and we're really gathering. We're in the information gathering process and trying to understand how we can best serve the membership in this regard. So, like I said, we're playing the long game, but I think you'll see some great resources coming out, many different types of resources coming out of the task force in the months and years to come.
Good. Yeah, I love it that we have a global community to draw from. That should give us ideas that can appeal to everyone, at whatever level they're at. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I want to get to inclusivity. Our good industry friend who left our industry, actually, Chelsea Render, told me once that diversity was getting invited to the dance hall, but inclusivity was getting invited out onto the floor to dance, right? And that always sort of stuck with me. So maybe we'll go around again. Lynn, we'll start with you. Just your perspective on inclusivity and how can we open ourselves 360 degrees to be as inclusive as possible?
Well, one thing that I wanted to mention was an initiative that SIA has related to addressing technical papers, okay? And rewriting some of the language in there that refers to gender, et cetera. This is an initiative that Joe Gittins from SIA is working on, but obviously this, other companies have done this. I think this is something that we should encourage in the industry from our leadership, from our manufacturers, et cetera. As we put together these things, we need to rethink this a little bit and change our language. So that's awesome. Something that we could do for sure.
Get the bias out of the language.
Yeah, exactly.
Malcolm, your thoughts?
So yeah, for me, essentially, the research has shown, like, for example, Harvard Business Review, they did a study and it said that essentially that diversity by itself does not increase organizational effectiveness, right? But it's how organizations harness that diversity. And by harnessing that diversity, we're listening to the voices and bringing the differences of people together to the table. That's where you're making it inclusive. And when that happens, you get leadership. You don't have inclusivity unless there is leadership, from different groups and stuff like that. So if you have people in your company say it's diverse, that's not diverse. You have to have leaders in your company at your board level, at your executive level, management level, who are diverse. And that's when you start bringing that voice that can make a decision-making voice. Then you're being inclusive. I'm listening to you. You're not just standing in the room. I'm actually listening to you. And I listen to you and your voice is heard. So that's so important. And I think moving forward in our industry, that's what we need to tap into. Bring in those voices, young people, women, people of color, other groups as well, other underrepresented groups. Bring them to the table, listen to their voice, and get them to affect strategic decision in a company or an organization.
Perfect. Dave, final thoughts, inclusivity?
Yeah, I'll echo what Malcolm said to a point in that, you can have diversity without inclusion. And it's important that, you have the right people have a seat at the table. But also, having a way to not only mentor people, but to sponsor them. And sponsorship is different than mentorship. Sponsorship is helping open doors for people. Sponsorship is more than just, hey, this is how I did it. It's I'm going to open some doors for you. I'm going to introduce you to the right people. But to Malcolm's point, if the top of your organization, if you're a member of the BIPOC community, if you're a female in the security industry, and you look to the top of your organization and nobody there looks like you, what message does that send to you, right? So organizations have to look from the top down, and this is not a flash in the pan issue. This is a long-term issue, and it's not new. It's been around for a while, and people's eyes are just opening to it. Some people's eyes are just opening to it, and people are having those difficult conversations. But I think that having the conversations is a huge first step. even when they're really uncomfortable, which they are in some cases. But having those conversations was one of the first steps in looking under the surface and identifying the issues that are in the way of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Awesome. Erin, I'll let you close us out with your thoughts. Are the young professionals included? Are you getting enough time on the podium and at the table?
I think we're pretty fortunate, at least from the RISE perspective. And a lot of my peers who are young professionals in the industry share the fact that we are being given a seat at the table. And it's really wonderful to be invited and kind of acknowledged as a voice and a perspective that is important to building this strategy. And I think that is kind of what inclusivity and really is when it comes down to it. It's, every person has unique experiences, has unique perspectives. They were brought up in different environments, and those perspectives and experiences shape the way that they see the world. And security is one of those universal experiences that we hope everyone has, but we don't have all of those experiences to know what's needed to shape safe spaces, to deliver technology that can be used by every person. And so to be able to be part of the conversation, have our kind of our perspectives heard, and like the rest of the guests said, really look up and down our organizations and see individuals who look like us or who have similar backgrounds to us. Representation really matters when people are considering what they want to do long term. And in some cases, breaking a glass ceiling is really phenomenal, but it would be even better and even safer if there weren't any more glass ceilings to break. And so I think that we are being given a seat at the table, but we'd like the table to expand, and we'd like to pull up a couple more people, and we'd like to sit down and have a meal together, because I think that's what's next. And I think the event on Thursday is a really awesome step in that direction.
Awesome. Thank you. Erin, Dave, Malcolm, Lynn, thank you all very much for joining me today. The big event we're talking about, as is Sierra, co-sponsoring a diversity, equity, inclusivity event on Thursday. Just Google that up, sign up, be a part of the conversation. This is our ask if you're listening today. We need your voice, and we appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you again for being here today. Aloha and take care.